Episode 36, Meet the Grader Series with Eddie, President of C3 Grading. Hey there, it's Denny. I am really excited for you to listen to this episode. And instead of doing an intro for it like I might usually do, I wanted to jump right into the interview because it went over an hour. And well, this is my last day of being 40 because I'm recording this intro on September 7th. And so I wanted to kind of create a separate episode talking about my thoughts about, I don't know, just where I am in the hobby, just turning another age, first time having a podcast, and, having and celebrating my birthday. So I thought that might be better suited for a separate episode. So I'm going to just jump right into it. Hope you enjoy this interview with Eddie, the owner of a little known but up and coming grading company, C3 Grading, based in South Florida. Enjoy. Okay, I think we're live here. Welcome to what I think will be episode 36 of the Card Diary by Hobby S. Thompson. I'm your host, Denny Cards, the self-proclaimed jack of all trades, master of none, maybe even the uncle or funkle of the hobby. And as I like to paraphrase Jay-Z, you could be listening to any podcast in the world, but you're here with me, and thank you so much for doing so. But you're not here just with me. Today, I have a very special guest who is a boss of graders, not just well, I gotta say, last episode I had a grader from Forensic Card Grading, Craig. He was awesome. Thank you so much to Craig for sharing your experiences. But today I have someone who is in charge of the graders. He is the president of a grading company. It's a newer one, and I can't wait to have him explain what his company does. He is the president of C3 Grading. He has been a collector in the hobby since 1992. His first card was a Shaq rookie. He told me before we went on air it was the rejector insert, which I remember. And he created C3 Grading with two childhood best friends, all of them growing up in the Brooklyn, New York area since the 1990s. Sounds like we probably met up maybe in the subway, his group of friends and my group of friends just passing by. I was a Queens boy on the 7 train. So he's definitely my kind of guy. We basically had parallel childhoods growing up, it seems like. And so I want to say welcome to Eddie, the president from C3 Grading.
What an intro. What an intro. I'll quote Jay-Z. Thank you. You're
Far
much
too kind. Yeah. Thank you. So Eddie, I gotta say the first thing is you had one requirement of me for this podcast, and
Yes.
it was integral.
Yes.
Do you want to share it or should I say
Of
it?
course. Of course. Well, obviously, we both grew up in New York, Brooklyn boy, Queensboro. So, the NBA Jam tee, it's either that or no go. So,
Yeah. It's either this or no
it's
shirt. You
iconic.
said
You know
yeah.
why it's iconic? Because this is
Yeah.
when I started collecting cards. This is when
Yeah.
the card market really stuck out for me. And I see it just shows that I follow all your content. So,
You do, and I thank you so much. I definitely want to talk about the reason how we connected a little bit, but do you remember putting those quarters in the front of the screen? Because like I got next. Oh my gosh, kids nowadays they won't understand. They just swipe the cards.
kids don't know what quarters are.
Yeah, what are quarters? Yeah, they know the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Man, okay, so who was your team back in the day? Was it the Knicks, like for NBA Jam or just fandom purposes?
It's gonna be so cliche, but I hated the Knicks because I was such a Jordan guy.
Yeah.
Being the only kid in Brooklyn who hated the Knicks,
Mhm.
it was fun because Jordan kept winning. I was a
Yeah.
Jordan fanatic.
Mhm.
I loved everything he did just because of the whole idea that he never was a great player up until later in his youth.
Mhm.
And it's kind of my story, only my story continued. And it's
Mhm.
not being a great player. So
Yeah.
I kind of resignated up until I hit, age 18, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay a bad player. So it's
No,
But
I totally believe me. No organized sports for me. My parents are immigrant parents. They didn't know about youth sports and signing me up for any basketball leagues. I always played on the blacktops. I mean, you and I remember like some of the best basketball players from New York City, even like the ones who went to the pro. They weren't great shooters. They were just shooting outside. You know, the wind. I remember every time I would have a bad shot. Oh man, the wind always took my shot. You know, kids like Steph Curry, they don't have to worry about playing outdoors. They're just in like air conditioned
that's the thing,
indoor.
and people don't realize that it's a lot harder to shoot outdoors because that
Yeah.
rim rattles as soon as you hit it.
Yes.
It's if you hit the backboard, it's bouncing right back to the middle of the court. It's not the same.
Definitely. Yeah, and then you had like all the cracks in the asphalt, and sometimes I would try to like, you know, base my shot off cracks on the concrete,
Yeah.
like just kind of like this is gonna be my sweet spot. But man, takes me back to definitely playing ball back in the day on the New York City blacktops for sure. So yeah, I gotta say, I got the vintage shirt on. I got the NBA Jam, but these two players, speaking about back in the day, I mean, this is immediately vintage. Beal and Hachimura, man, traded from my hometown Washington Wizards. So, but yeah, no, you grew up with Shaq and Jordan. I gotta say, I mean, you and I both. I mean, before we get into all the grading stuff, like early 90s, I mean, we knew Jordan was like the man and he had all this charisma and he was so good and so smooth and so like just telegenic, but he wasn't like immediately a winner and NBA champion like, when we started collecting, you and I both.
Correct. Yeah. I was when I've been drawn to basketball since like 88, but
Hmm.
when he became a champion 91 and everything, and I like the Bulls. I mean, after he was a champion, I just like the story of him being so iconic and the whole
Hmm.
world knows his name and he's just an athlete,
Yeah.
and he was more than just an athlete. He was great doing commercials. He was great at marketing his brand.
Hmm. Hmm.
He had his own clothing line. It was almost unheard of, and it was so versatile and doing everything so perfect. And that's really what drew me to his work ethic and everything, even as a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah, and again, I'm sorry to clarify. In the early '90s, he yes, he won a title early on, but he wasn't the six rings,
He wasn't
two
a legend.
three-peats.
He wasn't
We
a legend.
didn't. Yeah, he wasn't the legend back then.
Exactly.
So, I won't show it on camera because I am optimized for audio. But the way you found out about my content was, I early on in my grading, cracking, and subbing and all this stuff, resubbing. I had a card that I bought. I think it was a Whatnot stream. It was one of my first purchases, not the first purchase, but I think one of my first purchases. I didn't even know about this insert. It was Special Forces from Top Stadium Club. It's 1996 Stadium Club. It was in a C3 grading. It was an 8. I forget the subgrades. I always keep my little tags, but it was a C3 grading 8, and I did resubmit it to PSA, and it is now a PSA 8. But this is Jordan. He's got his tongue out. He's wearing the black with the red pinstripes, and it's a dope card. I don't remember it as a kid, so when I saw it, I was like, I gotta get it. But you saw that video, and can you just tell me what you thought when you saw me crack your slab?
So we have been around for about 2.5 years, and this was about a year and a half ago. And we really started gaining traction about a year ago. The first year and a half, we had 20, 30 customers, nobody really grading on a steady basis. So I'm always looking to see who put our product on Instagram, if anybody tagged us. One day I'm just checking the C3 grading hashtag, and all of a sudden I see somebody cracking our slab, and not even having a easy time with it. It took you about 3 minutes, and
Mhm.
I'm going around the office and I'm showing my partners. I'm like, oh, look at this! I told you guys, our slab is strong. And the reason it was big because we've had somebody submit through another grading company. I don't want to say who it was, and it was a newer grading company. And when he gave us the cards, they were sealed with hot glue, and I'm like, this is the reason why a new grading company is hard to pitch, because a lot of people just don't even do it right and they put it in the market, and it's a shame to see it, and it
Mhm.
makes our reputation so much harder to build. But when I saw that, our product is, in a way legitimate because somebody's having a hard time cracking it, I loved it. Then one
Hmm.
of my partners read the comments and it said, the evil something of C3 grading, the evil hands of C3 grading. We started cracking up. We're like, this is motivation for us because
Yeah.
we're like, because and I have to tell you a story. When we first launched, I was very passionate about this, and my partners were
Hmm.
like, "This sounds like a great idea," but they're like, "It's people are gonna chew us up. People are gonna, it's like starting a new Coca-Cola brand. There's Coca-Cola, there's Pepsi, but I've really received 99% nothing but amazing feedback. And I was expecting 50-50. And anybody who sees our slab just says, wow, this is a great product. And most, like, I didn't expect such a positive. Obviously, there's always going to be negative people, but
Hmm.
it's been 99% nothing but positive. And, thank you to everyone who positive and negative, feedback. We accept it all. But we've been overwhelmed with nothing but positive reviews, and we love it.
Yeah, awesome. So this wasn't planned for me to ask, but I did want to say I recently saw on your social media feed, and again, I'm sure it was a comment. I don't think I said evil hands, but I'm glad that you brought that up because there are some people who are going to just whatever is new, whatever is different, they just want to kind of immediately attack it. But I saw a recent reel where Jeff Wilson was actually giving an instant reaction about how your slabs felt and looked and all that. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit more?
So we saw him in Hobby Slam. First of all, before we did the video, I asked him a few questions. The guy is amazing. There's a reason why he's, one of the, I guess you could say he's one of the leaders of the hobby right now because he's putting out the most content. And it's just great to see he's so open minded. He looked at it and he said, "Oh, you guys are going into grading industry. It's a big industry." I'm like, listen, we're going up against giants. It's not, you're not just opening something where you could put in the local store. You're going up and you were trying to build a brand against brands that have been around 20, 30 years. It's not easy. But again, at the same time, we're not in it for, to make a quick buck and be out. We're in it for long term. Every dollar that comes into the company is reinvested. We're redesigning the slabs and everything. And I showed him everything we were planning on doing. He loved it, and he was willing to do the video for us. And I said, please, only honest feedback, which obviously he would have done regardless. But I didn't even, when I shot it, first of all, one take, I was blown away by his reaction because again, I didn't expect it to be so great, but he loved the product, and most people do.
There are so many times when I just do one take and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do another one. I just want to roll with that. It's the most real, the most authentic. There's sometimes when I stumble the first few seconds where I'm like, I just gotta reshoot this, sure. But I pride myself in and people who shoot videos with me, they'll see and they'll know, like, yeah, Denny just started the recording and we just went. And even this, like, I'm not editing this. I'm just gonna go with the one take. We're not gonna do 40 minutes and then go, oh, we messed up. We got to redo it. Everything. A lot of what I do, not everything, but I love the one take mentality. It's just like that's what it is what it is, right? So
Natural. It's
it's
natural.
awesome. Yeah, it's natural. Exactly. So I actually wanted to talk about some of the things that y'all are doing. And again, I'm going to very much admit I have not submitted to you guys yet. I do want to, but I've bought some cards that were in C3 grading slabs, but this is by no means a infomercial, SpawnCon. I'm just curious. I'm coming at this with I want to know more about a new grading company and figure out, like, what y'all are doing and see, like, diversity and competition in any space is good for the consumer. So one thing I want to talk about, or I want you to talk about if it's okay, is one of the advantages that you have with your company is custom slabs for every single card. It seems like you guys uh, take a very intentional approach with color matching the custom label to the card itself. Can you talk more about that, please?
Yeah. So we never sought out to make things easy. We sought out to make things better.
Mm,
So our goal to do the color matching slabs was kind of to create a more revolutionized grading product. It's a shame to see the companies that have been around for 20, 30 years still look identical. I mean, imagine that we're still using the same design of cards that we were using. Imagine you were still getting a John Morant rejector and it looked the same as the same shack I pulled. You have to redesign, you have to, evolve, you have to revolutionize a product. And we felt that just wasn't happening in the grading industry. And I think that the big companies are so comfortable, without calling anyone out. that they just don't want to evolve. And I understand why they wouldn't, because going from a standard label, which is printed thermally and automatically cut, to going to a custom label, which has to be custom cut and customly printed, and it's you're talking about probably 10 minutes versus 30 seconds of label creation. I can understand why a big company wouldn't want to do it, because you'll wait 3 years for your cards, So this is probably going to be our biggest challenge as we scale. That it's how do we get all this going, and so far it's been, we've created a system for everything, but it's going to be a challenge growing, and it's going to be a challenge, but we're looking forward to it. But we're it's the base of what we want to do, and kind of this is why we call it next level grading, because we really want to give more than what you're anticipating.
I love it. I love it. So custom slabs, color matching. Another thing that seems really difficult. Again, I'm not in the card, grading space to know how hard this is, but like horizontal for the cards that are horizontal, you have slabs where the information is also horizontal. Yeah, please. Optimize for audio, but please let's show the YouTubers if they're watching this on YouTube. So, what can you describe for people who are audio only what you're holding up and what it looks like?
So this is a horizontal slab, which is really just a regular slab, but just designed sideways. It seems like a very simple solution, and it really is. But because of the system that the last 30 years of grading has been, it's all printed through a thermal printer, kind of like shipping labels in a way. So for them to completely change that means that they have to completely change the way they do labels. It sounds simple. It's hard for them, but again, this is going from a simple, thermal printed label to folded and slab to a customized product, individually. And imagine in a perfect way, imagine just a regular interior with white leather, or an interior that has your name and your design on it. Each one has to be custom designed, and if it's a 2-color card, it'll have 2 colors, and it's that's really the idea here, is to bring it to where it should be. The hobby is evolving. Grading should evolve as well, not just by us, by anybody.
For those folks who are like driving or running, jogging, mowing their lawn, could you kind of like paint us a word picture about what you held up? Like, what card is it?
Yeah,
What is the grade? What are the color schemes on the custom label?
yeah. So this is Amanda Nunes. She has it's a horizontal UFC slab. It's basically has a Brazilian flag in the back, and then the label, instead of being a standard black and white label, it's green.
So I see it's UFC Select. What year is that?
This is 2022.
Okay, is it numbered?
No.
So I love the Brazil color. Go ahead.
Perfect thing, and when a card is numbered, we state it in the label. A lot of companies don't.
Yeah.
When this is a perfect example, they just brought it up because I totally forgot. This right here is it's a Zion rookie PSA 10. It is a rookie, but unless the label does not say rookie for some reason. Kind of, older cards, you don't know if it's a rookie or not. So what we did, take the same exact card, but there's a jar. If you look at the difference in the color scheme, we say rookie right on there on the right. So when you pick up a slab, if you're not familiar with the card, if it's a rookie or not. It's important to know, because the second year's worth significantly less.
Yeah.
If it's numbered, it'll say it on the label as well.
Okay.
I like these are things that a lot of the companies don't do. And the most important, and I'll tell you, this is what got me into grading, is there's a date of when it was graded on the back.
Ooh, I like that.
And I'll tell you why it's important. So in 99, I've had one of my employees, I was 19 years old, and I had a little electronic spot in New York. I had one of my employees need a little extra money, and he asked me to borrow a couple bucks, and he said, "Listen, Eddie, I'll let you hold a Jordan rookie." And it was 99, and it was in a PSA slab. It was a PSA 7. And he says to me, "Give me $500. If I don't pay you back, keep the rookie." I'm like, "That's cool. Yeah, Jordan rookie. Yeah." I never even seen one, let alone, had one. I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, what if I just buy it off you? He goes, all right, yeah, $500, just buy it off me. I'm like, awesome. I had it up until 2016, and I've always had it on my wall. And when I came to sell it, it was returned because it started fading because I had it on my wall for 10 years. And from the light and, LED lights and a little light from the window, it wasn't a 7 anymore. And I had to sell it as is, faded. I only got $800 for it after 20 years. It was a 7. I got scared to regrade it. And, because I knew you could see the red was not the same red anymore. I didn't even know how to regrade, and I didn't want to wait a year. So I just sold it as is, but that's what got me like, listen, I wish it was a better solution to wait so long. What if you need money? You want to turn things over. You want to buy, you want to sell. To wait 3-4 months on cards is very tough.
Right.
And then, if it's a freshly graded card, or if it was graded 3-4 years ago, you need to know that, because that helps a lot.
I really like what you said about the hobbies evolving, grading shit too. What I really liked about C3 when I saw the slab is you have a 5th subgrade called fading, which goes into your story. So I imagine that was one of your next reasons for having grading as a 5th subgrade.
Exactly.
Like that's really cool. I mean, that's more information. I like that you guys think about fading as a thing that affects the grade of the card. So I guess I don't even really have a follow-up question because you already explained why.
I'll elaborate on it. It's
Yeah.
fading and discoloring as well. Sometimes a card could look beautiful, and we have so many people submitting cards to us that they're yellow in the edges. And we want to actually make a video of how to submit and let them know what to look out for, because we have a lot of people who submit 150 cards and 60 of them are yellow in the edges, and the card is immaculate, perfect. But then you look at the edge and it's a little yellow. So it's people are like, hey, why didn't I get a 10 on this? The corners are perfect. And centering, you'd be surprised how many people don't look at the centering on the back. And then all of a sudden they'll get an 8 or a 7, and the back centering is almost completely thrown off. So
I see.
it's important. It's important to learn these things for people who want to submit grading, and to not pay $20-$25 a card and then lose money on it, which kind of sucks.
Right. So I definitely want to talk about the price point that you guys are at. But before I do, just staying on this subject about yellowing and edges and all that, I please let me know if this is off, but I'm thinking of yellowing with like the vintage and modern and like paper cards. But is it also endemic or occurring with newer cards as well? Like when you talk about yellowing in the edges, can you talk more about what kind of cards you're seeing with that?
Mostly anything 10 or more years old.
10 or more years.
When you leave them in very humid or hot places, or in your garage, and it's not in a cool safe area. One of the people we have that grades with us pretty often has turned his garage into a small room and actually put an independent air conditioning in there, just so his cards will not, because not everything is graded by him. He has some stuff that he hasn't graded yet, but just to keep the temperature down, which is obviously important to maintain. I mean, it's cardboard. At the end of the day, it's paper, and paper will yellow out with heat, with UV. So it's it's important to know that before submitting, after submitting, while maintaining even raw cards.
No, that's really cool. And I know the one touches have like UV protection, and I don't know if every single slab company touts having like UV protection for all their stuff, but like, do you know if?
So let me tell you, the UV is never 100%. You can never fight off 100% UV.
Yeah.
You can put a slab that's UV, and even our one of our vendors overseas is like, oh, for more we could do UV. We're like, yeah, that's fine, but you're gonna leave it in the sun for a week. I promise you, 10 pieces of plastic. UV is UV. There's no fighting the sun, especially not on a $10 slab. I promise. So it's important for people to always know that a company could claim UV, and it might be slight UV, but keep it. If you have a window and the sun is touching it, move the cards away. Over a year or two, you will see a difference in the cards, especially if they're autos and stuff. That ink could fade. So keep that in mind. It's important.
I really want to make like a Superman 4 joke here about the sun and but I want to maybe not go down that rabbit hole and ask you, like, I have like a fluorescent light, I have like a ring light, I have, when I'm shooting content, does light bulbs and fluorescent light bulbs affect fading as well, or just like natural sunlight?
I mean, it'll take a very long time for a light bulb to affect. You have to literally keep it probably a couple inches away for a couple of weeks. But yeah, it'll take a lot. Just always just keep out. Windows, any openings in the house. If you have if you have a little side light on top of your house and it's facing right at the
Yeah, I
cards,
do.
move
I'm
them a
staring at
little.
my window well right now. So
Yeah, move the cards just a bit. Yeah,
gotcha. All right, so instead of Superman 4, I'll just say Yin Yang Twins to the windows.
to the
Move them
wall.
over to the wall. All right, back on track. So I gotta say, this is fascinating. Knowing about fading as the fifth subreddit. I do want to kind of move us along because I know I don't have you for a long time here, and I want to get to the questions from Instagram folks. 150 cards submitted. Wow, that's a lot. But I have also seen people do that with PSA. You mentioned your price point. I've seen it on your website and on your social media. $9 per slab across the board for like up to the first 200, and then after that it's like $8. But again, $9 for even if you submit one card. Can you
Mhm.
talk about that price point and like how that works with all of you?
It costs us, and I don't mind saying it. It costs us with the custom labels and labor and everything about $3-4 a card. Um, to do so for us to charge anything more than $9, I think it would be just rude. It's price gouging. I don't know if a lot of people in the hobby know, but before 2019, grading did not cost more than $10 unless it was a very valuable card. And for something to just go up in price three times in the last 2-3 years, it's I don't want to, I don't want to talk bad about the hobby, but people are saying, oh, what if it has to cost more? What if I give them a $20,000 card or $5,000 card? Well, I mean, that's fine. I understand if you give a more expensive, this is where shipping comes along, because that's really where obviously the issue would be, and trusting that the company obviously handles it correctly. But what if it's just a card that's worth $400? Why
Mhm.
would you pay $30, $25? What if the card is worth $100? What if you're buying a set? And this is what bothers me as a collector. You have hobby boxes, you have retail, you have mega, but unless you buy hobby and get a numbered card, it's not worth grading with the big companies. So what happens to all these smaller cards? What happens to my son who's 16, or my brother-in-law who now is falling in love with cards, and you went to Walmart and spent $300 on retail, and like, no, what are you doing? And he goes, look, I got a Luca, he doesn't know. But what if for him it's an introductory to the market? Or if you're just buying a regular mega 2019, 2019, 2020, and you're getting a regular Ja or Zion rookies.
Yeah.
For example, this one I showed earlier.
Right.
This is not an expensive card.
Right.
I don't think it's worth spending $30 to grade.
Yeah.
But when it's $9 and you have about some Luca rookies, some not Luca, sorry, Ja rookies, Zion rookies, all in the same box, if you're paying $9 and selling them for 2025, at that point you could actually make money just in a regular mega box. So, price gouging and again, I don't want to say price gouging. It sounds like I'm saying anything bad, but charging 25 or $20 per card for regular cards, I think
Mm.
is just putting the hobby in a position where it's only about money. And I'm very against it.
Yeah, it should be about fun. I mean, that's what my content is really about. It's not about investing, flipping. I don't give tips on cards. I'm a collector. I want to learn more about all these different aspects of the hobby. So when it comes to, I mean, I don't even know if I should ask this question because it's kind of projecting, but like, these other companies that charge more for more expensive declared value cards, like that's but you even mentioned just now, like, maybe more expensive cards may cost more to grade, but like, why is that a thing? Like, why do we have, tiers of pricing and grading?
So at a last show that we went to, it was a Bay Area card show last month, which we sponsor and we attend every month.
Yeah,
Somebody submitted a Mickey Mantle rookie,
nice.
and it's in our threads. And we celebrated like we celebrated like we won the lotto. I'm like, oh, I'm so
Yeah.
excited. And
Yeah.
then we realized that it's not a standard size. Right? And I'm
Ooh.
like, oh, this is, it was heartbreaking.
Mhm,
But we still graded it for the guy, and we put it in a custom slab for him.
mhm.
One of those thick acrylic slabs that are just flat. That's like
Okay.
an inch and a half thick, and we
Okay.
still put the label on top, and we charged only $9. Um, it didn't cost us more to do it. It's
So, but when you say you still graded it, you mean you gave it a numerical number, or you just
yeah.
marked it
I
all?
mean, we looked at it and we gave it a 2, and I could get you the report number so you could actually see it online. But we gave it a 2. It was pretty beat up, but even a
Mhm.
Mantle 52 rookie as a 2 has a very significant value.
Yeah.
And again, it didn't cost us more than just making sure that we're careful with the card, but we should be
Yeah.
careful with any card, not just 52
That
Mantle.
no, FCG also said that they got a 52 mantle, which is awesome, and it's so great that you guys are still so new that when you get something like that, it's a big deal in the company. I think that's really awesome. So this is where maybe my naivete or my ingenue is showing. When you say not a standard size, we're not talking about like a trimmed card, or are we? Like, can you
Mm-mm.
explain?
It was the 52 series is slightly bigger. It's about a
So, oh,
quarter inch
that's what you
wider,
mean.
wider and taller.
Quarter inch wider and taller. Okay.
Yeah, it
So
sucks.
so it wasn't the standard card, what is it,
Correct.
2.5 by 3.5 right now that we have.
Yeah,
So it's a little bit.
so we have a stencil that we check for trimming any
Mhm,
card that's not perfect to the stencil. And the way the
mhm,
stencil works, it's just a little piece of wood that we put
mhm,
over every card.
okay,
And if there's extra spacing on the left or on the right,
mhm,
it means it's been trimmed. So we don't we had somebody make it for us in the CNC machine.
nice.
Um, and we we won't grade it. Now, not only that, touching base on that, if somebody submits, and we had somebody submit some star 85 that were
Ooh,
worn out
controversial.
in the front, worn out
Yep.
in the back, but the corners were perfectly white.
Mm,
So we're like, listen, we're sorry, but and then they submitted to another company that did grade them.
oof.
I don't want to say who.
That's a
um
very controversial card, I feel like.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
rookie, yeah.
And you could tell by, and I took some pictures, and I don't mind sending you the pictures,
Mhm.
to just so you see it.
Yeah.
But you could see the logo was reprinted. But
Oh, God.
they sent me a picture saying, "Hey, you guys should get better graders because the other company graded it for us." And I was like, good luck.
Maybe it's the other way around.
Yeah,
Um,
good luck. So it's
what is a CNC machine?
it's a custom cut machine. Like show your slabs, that's what they use to cut it. It's a machine
Okay,
that just, it's how they make
gotcha.
any machine, like any custom tables, custom fabrication,
Oh, okay.
stuff like that.
Gotcha. So that, but that's not a thing that you
No, it
guys
has
use.
nothing to
You
do. Yeah, we
okay?
just asked a company that to make us one for that exact size.
Yeah,
So
I see.
anytime we have a card on the thing, we put it over it, and we
Okay,
just check if the card dances.
nice.
And if
And
it
then you
does,
mentioned that you could show the information about the mantle. So you guys have like pop reports. I think I saw that on your website. You have pop reports. Like I saw when you showed the back of your slab, there was a QR code, so that
Mhm,
maybe pops up your pop report.
correct. So when you scan the back of a card, it takes you to like a report on your actual website,
Hmm.
on our website, and it tells you right there how the card got its grade, which is important. I can't believe people still don't have that with every company. But how it graded, what was the issue when it was graded, which agent graded it, and which agent designed it. So if you get a card that was graded perfectly, or or designed in a certain way that you like better than our previous graders, you look at who designed it, and then you could request that designer will do all your submissions moving forward.
So is an agent a grader?
No, an agent's a designer. So
Designer? Which
so we
okay,
have our process is two graders
two
and a
graders.
designer who prints the labels, and then somebody that slabs it.
Oh,
So we have a soft grader who checks it, gives it a soft grade, a hard grader who double checks it, says, all right, it's verified. A designer, actually, one of our designers will look at it, match it, print the actual labels front and
mhm.
back. Um, and then the team slabs it, and any 10, by the way, gets a third grader to look at it.
Oh, okay. Any 10. I'm gonna just write this for my notes. Any
Yeah,
10
no, it's
gets third
important because
grader.
having a multi-process grading is, I think, something that a lot of these bigger companies don't do anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to speculate, but judging by recent complaints of quality and grading
Mhm.
results, it seems that way. And I think they've just grown too big for their own good.
Right. Well, okay. So here's the thing that I want to say a little bit. Hopefully I won't go too long, but I liken these grading companies, and which you guys are included. But I want to know what your, how you would say you're calibrated. It's my opinion that PSA is, widely known as the biggest in the field, but they also give out a lot of tens, and a lot of collectors or flippers or investors, like they want tens. It's like in my opinion, I feel like PSA is like the cool teacher in school. It's like, yeah, you know what? You want to go out and do that? Go ahead and, go out to the field, and hey, you want an easy grade on this? We'll give you an easy grade. So you have these other grading companies who historically have been, maybe more industry leaders, like say Beckett, who are like, man, Gem Min is 9.5. To get a 10, you have to be like, it's like that strict teacher who's like, I need to see perfection from you in order to give you like the A plus. And here's PSA just handing out A pluses like Oprah. You get a 10, you get a 10, you get a 10. And it's like, people love it though. People eat it up. And then you see other companies like CGC who are like, yeah, actually, we're going to go away from the Beckett model of 9.5 as the gem and 10. We're going to give out more tens. And it seems like that's being well received. So I guess what I'm asking Eddie, the president of C3 Grading is, are you all kind of like are you the cool teacher? Are you the strict teacher? Like, how are you guys calibrated, do you think?
So I'll tell you, and it's gonna sound so political, but I'll tell you, if you studied for your test and you got all the answers right, you'll get a 10, straight up. If we're cool and you brought me an apple at the end of every class, but you got one answer wrong out of 10, you're gonna get a 90. It's
Okay.
it's just I'll tell you, and I'll tell you why it's important for us.
Yeah.
PSA right now could give automatic 10s to everybody, and it'll take him years to fall because
Mhm.
PSA is PSA.
Yeah.
They're the top.
Right.
We're a new company and we want to be received well. And the last thing I could ever do is put a 10 badge on a card that is not a 10.
Mhm.
It is, even if it's a $10 card, it can mean ruin for us.
Yeah.
So we're a smaller company. We're even though we've been around for 2 years, it's nothing compared to the big guys.
Right.
And for us to get the right grade is so crucial
Mhm.
because all these custom designs and all these things that we're doing that's extra that we say is next level
Yeah.
are worthless if the grade is not perfectly accurate.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point, because again, at some point, one of the things I like to say is we all start from zero. All of these grading companies, even though they've been around for decades, they started from humble, small beginnings like you. And when I see, and again, this is not bashing PSA, it really isn't. Like, I have no vested interest. I'm not an industry insider at all. Like, I just know that I have seen, and I have in my own collection, old PSA slabs with serial numbers, certification numbers starting with 0, 1, or 2, back in the day, early PSA, and they are tens, and yet they have, dimples or edge issues or surface issues or corner issues where I'm like, I bought it online thinking this is a PSA 10, but it's just my strong opinion based upon my own eyeballs, not other people telling me what to think or what to do. But when I see these old PSA slabs with these old cert numbers, that my eye tells me that they were not grading consistently or very well in the early stages of their company.
It's very accurate, but you have to also keep in mind when you're grading 1 million cards a month, you're
Mhm.
going to have a couple of thousand that are not graded perfectly, and it's okay.
Yeah.
You can never, I mean, it's all this AI and human grading and all this stuff. It's a service that just says what condition your card is.
Right.
And you're gonna always have one here, one there. So we do, a few thousand a month. And if we have 1 or 2, it's fine. But if we did 1 million, that 1 or 2 is gonna turn to 1,000, 2,000. You're
Totally.
gonna
I
get
get
quoted
that.
by one and it's gonna spread around,
I mean, it's nice of you to like do a soft defense of, of another grading company, but again,
I'm a collector. I am a
you're a
collector.
collector, and you're
I'm
also
real. I'm real, 100%.
exactly. But I will
And
say,
a lot of people always say, "Oh, C2 grading, I mean, you'll never be PSA." I'm like, we don't want to be PSA. We just want to exist in a marketplace. That's all. We want PSA to be. There should never be just one company that does grading. With any industry, imagine there was only one automobile, or imagine just like I would say iPhone, but it's iPhone.
One Coca-Cola, one soft beverage company.
100%.
Yeah.
Never a market should never be controlled by one company. It only leads to no evolution and pricing.
So I want to get to the Instagram questions, but I do want to touch on this subject a little bit because in an earlier episode, I mentioned how I see these grading companies almost like Formula One, where some people are vying for the podium 1, 2, and 3, and then there's a second tier where they're happy to get fourth, fifth, or sixth, and they're all fighting within each other, and then you have the people who are just happy to get points. So I guess, I mean, I don't know how much you want to talk about your competition, but like what you just said right now is you don't want to be PSA. I think that's like a very realistic, I think, you said it, and I think that's really, an honest, perspective. Can you talk more about like, how you see yourself, like, who is your competition, or what do you perceive to be like, like where your positioning is in the grading, Formula One grid?
So we'll tell you where we don't think we're even in Formula One yet. We'll say we're not up there in Formula One, and that's just being real. I think that right now, because of our price point, we're the perfect company for either somebody who's not holding a few $1,000 cards, which we're not the company for the flipper. We're not the company for the guy who's just who does a full living selling cards. With the resellability is not there, even though we've had some cards sell more than PSA. Actually, if you look at our Instagram, but not every card sells more than PSA. It's just a few models. Obviously, we chose. A Josh Allen rookie sold for 65 as a 9 by us, and a PSA 9 sold for 50. Which is cool, but it's one of those cases where somebody liked the design, they bought it. When we realize it, we're not saying that our resellability is great, but basically we realize, and we're very self-aware, which is important as a company. We realize that right now our market is for people who don't buy 100 hobby boxes a month. Somebody who buys, mega boxes, a hobby box here. You have $100 card, and you just want it to be slabbed beautifully. You want it to be graded accurately. You'll know you have a more detailed grading by us, just because we have more time to dedicate that detail into it. If you're looking to buy a hobby box for $500, $600, take all those cards and resell them for $3,000, we're probably not the best solution for you at the moment. Hopefully we will be in a year or two from now, but that's just not who we are. But imagine that right now you bought $500 worth of regular, mega retail boxes, and you want to take all those cards that are worth $30, $40 and not pay $20 to grade them, and then fees when you sell them. So you take $140, $50 cards, and you pay only $900 to grade them. You sell them between $40 to $50, and you actually have profit. So that's the market that we're hitting right now.
That is so refreshing. Again, I by saying this, I am kind of putting words in your mouth, but just to further that analogy, it's like maybe you feel like you're in Formula 2, F2. I think that's a thing.
We're in the D League right now.
Yeah, no, that's so awesome. That's so honest, for you to not just be like, oh no, we're the absolute best and we're gonna be beating down the door of everyone. It's you understand.
Our product is great, but we know where we are as a company right now.
Yeah.
And, our goal is to be top 5, hopefully one day top 3, top 2.
Okay.
But it's we know how hard it's going to be to get up there, and we know the timeline of it. And it's where we are realistically, and we're okay with it.
But I love it, Eddie. You're awesome. We're almost at the 45-minute mark, and I know you got to go soon, but I have like these
no rush.
awesome questions. Yeah, it's like the time just flies by. By the way, I forgot to mention my intro. I am wearing shout out to Bleecker Trading. Got this hat for free from at National.
That's a Skybox.
Skybox, exactly, but not a official sponsor and like that. But when they gave it to me for free, I'm like, I'm gonna wear it, and I knew we had a connection because like I didn't know about the Brooklyn New York, but like I was like, I think this is going to be the perfect hat for this talk. So I love that we're having this discussion. I got my NBA Jam shirt on. I got my Bleecker trading in the style of a skybox font and all that. And so let's transition to these Instagram questions. The first one I think is really a good segue into kind of like when you were talking about we have time to grade these cards. So Ryan from Mid Atlantic Card Show, shout out to Ryan. He asked, on average, how many cards does one of your graders review in an hour? So I guess maybe we don't have to like project up to an hour, just like for
I
one
have
card.
So let me tell you,
Yeah.
where my partners and we come from a data analysis background. So it's I'll tell you, it's exactly 6 minutes per card is what we give everybody. You have exactly a minute for each subgrade, and a minute to enter the data, which puts you at 10 cards per 10 cards about per 6 minutes. Let's say for an hour you put about 10 cards, and per day about 100 cards. So that's where you fall into. We have to do that because we don't tell the graders. I mean, they probably know now, but new graders, we just want to see if they're grading it too fast or too slow. We time them at the original time frame to see how much time they're really putting in. But we give them the way we work is we give them 100 stacks, meaning if I have a submission for 30, a submission for 50 and 20, I'll put those 3 submissions together and dedicate them to A and B to do the soft and hard grading. So
Awesome.
and then they separate those 3 orders, and then they have exactly the day 1 a grade soft grader A will do it, then day 2 soft grader B will do it. It takes exactly 10 hours for each grader to do 100 cards. So we have it very detailed to make sure it's done accurately. And then we have the data put in, and then obviously we have the same with the slabbing and the designing. So
Gotcha.
Exactly on average 100 cards a day per grader, but figure you have 2 graders per card, so it's 2 days.
That's right. That's awesome. So again, if this is too much, if this is like secret sauce and you don't want to mention, it's fine. But you're being so open with this. I love it, and I hope the listeners really get a lot of value and benefit from this. But I know Forensic Card Grading said that they have currently 5 graders. Are you willing to kind of share like how many graders you currently have on staff?
Yeah, 6. We have 6 people grading. 2 soft graders, 2 hard graders. Then one of the managers that overlooks them will check any 10 that comes in before they get slabbed.
Gotcha. Have you done any grading in the past?
Yeah, I mean it's I'm the one who overlooks the whole operation. So
Nice.
I've submitted thousands and thousands of cards for grading, and to all companies before we started this. They'll probably look at my name now and be like, "Oh, that bastard." But yeah, I've learned the process of submitting, and I mean, we even have a way to submit on our website without even putting the data. You could submit it right now, 150 cards in 30 seconds on our site.
Oh, I love it.
So
I love it.
everything that was tedious and tough, we kind of, all right, how do we make it easier?
I experienced that when I was in Arena Club at the national booth. I was just like, they're just give us your stack. You don't have to like enter in all this information. I was
Yeah,
like,
we'll
what? I love
identify
it.
you regardless. So yeah,
Yeah. So this is a great segue to the next question from Josh, Inspired Sports Cards. He asked through Instagram, have you submitted a card to your own graders while being the head? What thoughts, if any, do you have on these crossovers? Oh, this is like a second follow-up to that is, what thoughts do you have on these crossovers that come back with wild variances? Of course, the thing I think he's talking about is like the PSA 5 into the BGS 10 and all that. So 2 separate questions, but have you submitted?
I'd like to really defend, because I don't see how a 6 could come back as a 10. And even to call out PSA to say, oh, I give PSA a 6 to 10, it's not right to do. It's a company that has a great reputation. I really think that part of the hobby needs to kind of be cut out, the negativity and everything. If they do millions of cards, I could probably, I'll put money that a 10 will never see a 6. I don't believe that story. I mean, they have a protocol. It's very hard to believe. A 10 is to be a 6. You know what a card has to be a 6. And you know what a card has to be with BGS to be a 9.5 or a 10. It's a very, very long shot. So I'll
Gotcha.
defend. I don't. I'd love to say my competitors, but I don't think we're competitors yet. But
Mhm.
I'll defend these other grading companies and say that I do not think that story has any bearing. And if it does, it has to be a 1 in a million shot.
Gotcha. Which again, if you're doing a million
That's
per,
once a month.
exactly.
We'll
So
see
that's
another
really
story next
interesting.
month.
Yeah. No, that's I appreciate. That's very again very refreshing. So, um, going to the original or the first question of the two, you said you've submitted cards to all sorts of grading companies. Like, do you submit your own cards to C3 grading?
Yeah, my own my Jordans. I love
Do they
Jordans.
know? Do the graders know, or is it like kind of whitewashed or blind, or how does it work?
I guess I'll let the cat out of the bag, but sometimes no, I'll put a random order number on there that we
Mm,
originally did without them knowing, and I'll pull my own cards. But this is really just more or less the test. But I mean, we're 2 years. I've had more than 40 people that came and went the first year just to see if, and you have to be in the industry to be a card grader. And we've had people who are on the phone nonstop. We've had people who are just not serious about what they're doing. But
mm,
the team we have now is amazing, and literally the fifth and sixth graders are not as busy as the first four.
mhm.
So we give the more expensive cards to them because they have more time to check on those cards. But it takes every few weeks. We put in a few cards just to see what's going on, and we
Mhm.
kind of know what the grades are gonna be more or less.
Got it.
But we check everything. But yeah, we're collectors, you
You
know.
know, it's so funny when you say fifth and sixth graders. Like, I currently have a fifth grader in elementary school, and I'm thinking
It
fifth
sounds weird, yeah.
grade. Yeah, right. It's like fifth grade. No, but that's funny. So yes, you're talking about the graders that you have on staff. So going to man, I love how perfect these transitions are. Like, and I take no credit. This is well, maybe in the order that I'm putting in, but the Instagram questions are just so awesome. Mike from J and M Cards from Instagram asks, how are graders trained and what ongoing training do they have to do to maintain their ability to grade consistently across the company?
So I'll tell you more or less. Most people in in our office know the hobby in and out. If they don't come from the hobby, you can't teach somebody who doesn't know cards to grade cards. It's very tough. The hobby goes back a long time. Um, but we tell everybody, listen, you have to check all eight corners, front and back. When it comes to surface, you have to put it against the light. Make sure that there's no nicks, no scratches, no. And they know, Prism and Select almost impossible to not have scuffs on the back. So they're always gonna start at eights or nines. It's which sucks. And then you look at you look at tops. Tops have their UV coating perfect. It's
Hmm.
very hard to get scratches on it, which kind of
Yeah.
sucks for Panini. But they know the different sets.
Hmm.
They learn, and we have stacks of cards, and we show them the different sets, how they're printed. Each set is printed in a different way. UV by Panini and UV by Tops are two night and days, so they kind of know with each set what to look out for. We give them a 10 means that there's no flaws. Everything starts from a 10, and they're kind of looking for the flaws. So if you see a micro visible flaw, it's a 9. If it's a visible flaw, like I see it right off the bat, that subgrade will get an 8. 7 is if it's very visible, meaning like, oh wow, that's a 7. And we have it kind of named to common terms. That way they know exactly what it is.
Hmm.
So, and being that you have a soft grader and a hard grader for every set, um, the anything that kind of gets two different, because they both do their own reports. So anything that kind of comes in as two different reports by left and right, but by more than 2 points. If it's somebody puts a 7 and it's an 8, it's okay here and there. But anything that's more than 2 points, we got to look at it because somebody graded it wrong,
Gotcha.
and
No,
that's
that's
kind of the
good.
only way to really get a card graded perfectly and not bypass it. And that's what we set up for the. I probably shouldn't have shared it, but yeah, but that's what we set up for if we're doing 100,000 cards a month.
Yeah,
That's the way to really red flag what was graded inaccurately before it
I
goes out.
see. Wow, no, that's really
Anyone from
fascinating. I
GSA
love.
is watching, you're welcome. Send me a check.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for that answer. That's really just such great insight. So I have a follow-up with regards to because you mentioned Prism and Select. They are ultra modern, they're newer. My wonderment or what I wonder, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, is back in the 90s with Topps Finest and like, the cards that I grew up with, and they were shiny, there were refractors, now there are hollows and silvers and all that, but there was no way, I think, a kid in the 90s would have thought that a card 20 years later would have started greening or hulking, these terms, when the color starts turning a little bit more of a green tint. And I see that, it does affect the eye appeal of the card, and people, people talk about that a lot in the forums or things that I see. And I wonder if Prism and Select are going to start greening or hulking 20 years down the road from now when they're being produced. So I think we won't know until they stand the test of time and UV protection and lights and all that. But Louis Lego Lou 1990, he asks, what I'm asking is, how does greening affect the overall grade of a card?
How does
Greening, hulking, like when, I wish I had a good, well, even if I had an example,
like
it
in the
would be,
work?
yeah, like when you see the face of a player, and it almost like it's, I'll use a great example of Shaq, because again, you've collected Shaq, I collect Shaq. I remember these cards from the 90s, the Topps Finest cards, and I have some Shaq cards that they are like, you can have two cards side by side. In every aspect they look exactly the same, and I'm not going to say like 10 grade, I'm just saying they look identical, but one just has a more green of a tint than the other one. Like the entire card surface, the front surface, whether it's never peel or whatever, if it had the peel
That's
correctly.
that's the like the tinting of the card is changing over
Yes,
time.
yes, yes.
I think Topps Topps Chrome is one of the few, Topps Finest, sorry, is one of the few cards that few sets that really has that issue. Because it was the first year it was made. I think it was 95. Was
Yeah,
the first year it was made.
yeah,
Refractors was the first time
right.
that was introduced. And we haven't seen any issues with it. We don't have that many Topps Finest coming in from the mid 90s,
Hmm.
just because it's 95, 96 set, and that's like, it wasn't a big rookie year. That was like a Grant Hill rookie year. So it wasn't a 96, 97 is when it started getting really heavy, and they printed them a little different and a little better at that year. That
Hmm.
was the Kobe rookie year, and you could see the printing was a little darker and everything. But yeah, the 95, 96 Topps Finest, just the Jordans and the Shaqs is
Yeah.
really all we really see on there.
So I know I have some people who are 90s collectors, because that's like my bailiwick. They're gonna get upset at me. I think, off the top of my head, because I'm getting older, please don't blame me. Please don't clip this and say that I know nothing about 90s basketball. Just get the years sometimes wrong. It's okay. It's like, you got some of these fuddy duddies who think that you have to be perfect in every single second of your content. But I think 94, 95 was the first year for Finest. And I
It
hope
could have
I'm
been
right.
94, 95. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
95. Yeah,
Yeah.
could have
Right.
been
I remember
95, yeah.
basketball. It's always so weird because you got the
Yeah,
2 year thing.
I'm thinking about it. Could have been 94, 95. Absolutely.
Right. And then I'm thinking of the rookies, you had like the co MVPs, I think, Grant Hill and Jason Kidd. And then you had the what is it, like KG started coming in, but KG was right before Kobe and Nash and
Yeah.
Iverson. So I mean, but yes. And I'm sorry if I got it wrong, Topps Finest and Topps Chrome,
No,
but the Chromium,
I think it is correct. Yeah, Topps
yeah.
Finest was 94, 95. I
Yeah,
remember
but
95.
yeah, but like, people just jump over everything. It's like people are so angry online. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but no, I gotta say, I don't recall exactly if it was Finest or Chrome that does more of the green tinting. But yeah, I have some of these cards where I'm just like, they are so beautiful. And then you have Shaq, who in a normal pose, he's imposing, and then you got Shaq hulking up, turning the green of my shirt, and he looks like the Hulk, the Incredible
You know,
Hulk, and it's hilarious.
if you look at a lot of 90s Shaq cards and you look at his facial expressions,
Yeah.
it's one of the best parts of collecting as a kid. You
I
have
mean,
the
he
tongue
was
out.
so,
Yeah,
yeah, he was so like telegenic, and like his facial expressions. He was a big goofy guy, and he was
yeah.
in Shazam, which I remember seeing in the theater
He was a rapper. He
as a
did,
kid and all
he
that.
raps with Bruce Niggins. Yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah, he was everywhere.
yeah, he was everywhere. Did you? Let me ask you. Did you have the Reebok pump shoes, the ones where he pumped the
Of course,
Shaq pumps? Oh
of
my
course. Way
gosh.
before in '91.
Yeah.
This is when they just like if you didn't have them in a starter jacket,
Mhm.
you just stay home. Stay home. You have to have the Reeboks and the starter jacket. It's a 91, 92 mandatory apparel. Absolutely.
It is. And my parents, like, so I remember saving up money and asking them for my birthday for that. But I will say, I always wanted, but I never actually ended up getting that Charlotte Hornets starter jacket. That just iconic teal. Oh my gosh.
You want
Larry
to hear a
Johnson.
funny story?
Yeah.
I literally was scrolling on Instagram the other day, and I saw the Charlotte Hornets starter pullover,
Yeah.
and I know my wife since age 12, and
Oh,
she had that pullover, and I look, I'm like, didn't you have this pullover? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that's why. So this is why. This is how I remembered. She used to have that pullover, but grew up a little different to me. She had three of them, so three different themes, right? That's
you
what I
married
said.
up. You married up with that. Oh man.
But yeah,
Three.
I
What?
had the New York Giants one, the blue with the red and the white stripe.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
oh,
Well, so yeah, I mean, Queens was very Mets, Jets, Islanders were kind of like the redheaded stepchild or whatever.
yeah.
But
It was
I
really,
remember,
I mean, it was really what's your favorite color? That's really what it was.
yeah, green. Oh
We
my
didn't
gosh,
care
it's
about
not
we didn't
even.
care,
It's crazy.
we didn't
Well,
care
then
about
I
you.
would have made the car diary green or
I mean,
something.
you're
No,
still wearing green.
well, look, when I do hobby stuff, I probably everyone probably thinks I have like multiple shirts of this or this dude never washes or showers. When I do hobby stuff, I do like wearing this. I would not have worn this if you hadn't asked. I definitely washed this separately so I could bring it wear it today. But yeah, I like doing hobby stuff and hobby apparel, and I don't have a lot of hobby apparel, but I want to say this though. I've never shared this with anyone before. Like I don't even think my wife knows this, but I remember Tropicana had this promotion as a kid, the orange juice cartons, where they had this NFL program where if you could align up two different things you cut out from the inside of the carton, and you could line up like a team logo, you mail it in and you get a jacket, like the starter jacket. So I
So
have a youth. I don't even think I still have it anymore, but it was a youth sized New York Jets jacket, starter jacket that I got for free. And I remember my mom when I sent it out and I got it back in the mail. It must have been like 11 or something, and she was like, "What? Like, did you spend money? My money? Like, what is this?" And I'm like, "No, I got it for free." And it's like I can't believe it actually came. And I remember that day, like I can't believe it's like it's like winning one of those Monopoly McDonald's things. Like no one's
yeah,
winning the any amount of. I mean, it was like such a rigged game from documentaries that I saw, but I remember getting
that
that
was the
starter
go. That
jacket.
was the go-to excuse as kids in New York. Well, I got it for free. A friend of mine's father. We used to get stuff for free. I mean, I don't want to mention how.
Yeah, exactly.
Queens kid, but you
Yeah.
know, where'd you get this? Oh, for free. My father, my friend's father works at.
Fell off the back of a truck.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but
Exactly.
I mean, I gotta say, like, just wild times, man. We definitely, like I said, we have parallel upbringings, right?
100%.
Just miles away from each other in different boroughs. But that might be a really great place to kind of end this. I had a couple of other questions, but I'm like, you know what? We're an hour into the recording.
There
You've been
was
so
one
great with your
question that
time.
I loved.
Oh,
The guy,
please,
somebody
please.
asked about Stevie Wonder. What was the question?
What?
Somebody
What
asked,
question?
why is Stevie Wonder in quality
Oh,
control or
one of the
grading?
troll questions. Oh
I
my
love it.
gosh.
I love
I
it. I do want to say we keep them there
please.
just for the music and the good vibes. So
So okay, you answered that question. I
there you go.
I
I'm
try to
sure you want an answer. There you go.
I try to screen them to for the sake of my guests, but you did read the comment section of
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Instagram. There's definitely some people who are it's a
You're gonna
very
have that.
polar yeah, it's a
Mhm.
very polarizing subject. I mean, I think that the hobby is so fun, and then once you add in the money, people start losing their minds and their wallets,
Yeah,
unfortunately. But
some people get mad at us. Very very few.
yeah,
Saying, "Oh, you're here for the cash grab." Look, if we're here for the, trust me, we're not making that much money. $9 a card. We're not grading 100,000 cards a month.
yeah,
There's no cash grab here. We
yeah,
love what we do. We walk into the office. We're excited every time we open a submission.
yeah.
We're like, "Oh, look, these cards are beautiful." All right, and when we start doing the data and putting them in the system, it's one of the funnest parts of what we do. So we do it because we love what we do. We're not out to, this is not out. I mean, I would go into much different industries if it was a money based issue.
Yeah. No, I think thank you for that perspective. That I think that's right. I've heard that from other folks too. It's like this isn't the easiest space to jump right into. People think it's so easy and all you gotta do this, all you gotta do that. And again, this is why I wanted to have you on. This is I want to humanize not just the graders, and I wanted to show people, and thank you for accepting the invite about coming on
Sure.
to this to show that this isn't easy streets. This is hard sledding. And so for you to do that, thank you so much. Is there anything you wanted to like plug or say, like your social handles?
No, just C3 grading. If you
Yeah.
guys, one thing we did forget to mention actually is if you submit 50 or more cards, not
Mm-hmm.
only are you paying $9, there's no return shipping fee. We cover
Mm.
that as well. So it's a flat $9. I don't know if many people know, but return shipping is also something that gets a little overpriced.
Oh yeah, it's baked in the margins. Oh my gosh, people who defend PSA for like their well, it
Yeah.
costs more to grade a more expensive car because of the insurance.
Adding
There,
insurance is not that
it,
much. Adding
right.
insurance is not that much. Putting a $10,000 insurance on a package that weighs 10 pounds is an
Yeah.
additional $15. It's really not that, and we don't even ship that much. If anyone is in South Florida, in the Hollywood, anywhere in South Florida area,
Mm-hmm.
you could drop off cards and you
Hmm.
could pick up cards. No additional fee. You could always go to our office and sit with one of our graders and they'll let you know ahead of time, hey, this probably won't get a high grade or anything. So reach
Wow.
out to our Instagram if you're local in South
Yeah.
Florida. And our time frames are 2 to 3 weeks, $9 flat, no fees, and that's it. Simple. We want to
Nice.
keep it
I
simple.
see. You say that, and I want to just talk about South Florida now because I grew up. Also, my high school years were in Fort Lauderdale,
Oh, where'd you go?
and I went to Sunrise Piper High School. So that's
Okay.
my. So I know everyone didn't. Everyone hated Pinecrest because they're like a private school and just beating everyone in football. Dillard, I think Dillard had Eddie Jones from back in the day.
Hmm.
I don't know when you moved down to Florida, but I was there in the late '90s. That's when yeah, like the Knicks and the Heat were playing, and I'm here I am, a New York transplant, watching a Knicks Heat playoff battle where Jeff Van Gundy's just hanging on the leg of Alonzo Mourning, and people are like, you New
Oh,
Yorkers, you all
oof.
suck, and I'm like, I don't like the Knicks, like.
Still today, the best game ever. But yeah,
But Hollywood, South Florida, that's where you guys are based. I wish nothing but the best for y'all.
thank you.
Again,
Thank you.
I look forward to my first submission, maybe make some content around that, but I'm not doing this for any freebies or SpawnCon. I'm just here to shine a light on y'all, and it seems like y'all are doing things the right way. So thank you so much, Eddie. You've been
Thank
so
you for your time.
excellent.
No, of course, my pleasure.
Yeah.
And anybody who has any questions, I still run the social media. So if you ask any questions, I say still like as if I'm going anywhere, but I run social media. And if you have any questions, you'll be asking me directly. So feel free to reach out. Any negative comments will be ignored. So I'll just give you like a have a good day comment. So
Unless they're really funny, like the Stevie Wonder
oh,
thing.
I'll probably just answer you sarcastically if you have something negative.
Exactly.
To say, but
Oh, I love.
there's no reason for negativity.
There
It's
really
just,
isn't.
you
Come
know,
on, people.
we're offering a service. We're trying to offer more. 99% of the feedback has been great. So to
Yeah.
everybody in the hobby, thank you everybody for supporting us. Anybody who hasn't supported us yet, we look forward to the time you will.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Eddie.
My pleasure.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to The Card Diary by Hobby S. Thompson. You can find the show's Instagram account at Hobby S. Thompson, all one word, and you can find my personal hobby Instagram account at Denny_cards. You can also reach me in the show via email at hobbysthompson@gmail.com. Please send any and all questions there if you do not have Instagram. Also, if you're able to rate or review this podcast in whichever platform you are listening to me on, I would greatly appreciate that. Finally, wherever you are in your cardboard journey, I wish you well and I am rooting for you. Remember, we all start at zero. And also, do what you want because unless this is a business or a main source of income for you, the hobby is supposed to be fun.